Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive.
hmm
Today, we're really digging into this whole idea of next-gen leadership in family businesses.
Mm,
Getting them ready for the future and all that.
yeah.
We've got a really interesting mix of stuff to work with here.
Okay.
We've got this webinar invite that caught my eye. Then there were these articles by this Dr. Doug Gray.
Oh, yeah?
And then we even got a sneak peek at these next-gen peer groups that everyone seems to be talking about.
It seems like everyone's finally realizing how important the next generation is for these businesses, long term.
Yeah, totally. But here's the thing that really gets me.
What's that?
Family businesses are like the backbone of our economy, right?
Right.
Something like 70% of our GDP.
Yeah, it's huge.
But then you see these numbers about how many of them won't even make it to the next generation.
Yeah,
It's kind of mind-blowing.
it really is. And Dr. Gray, he actually calls it a potential crisis.
Oh, wow.
He says the business world is changing so fast.
Yeah.
Like, think about it. Digital transformation, AI disrupting everything. Even what work means is changing.
It's true.
And if you're waiting to get the next generation up to speed,
Yeah.
you're not just taking a risk, you're practically guaranteeing you'll get left behind.
It's like trying to sail a ship in a hurricane with only half the crew knowing what to do.
Exactly.
But isn't it a bit of a leap to assume that every next-gen leader is automatically ready for this digital world?
Yeah, I see what you mean.
What if they're great with tech in their personal lives, but not so much in a business sense?
That's a good point. It's not about assuming they're all coding geniuses or something.
Right.
It's more about recognizing that they've grown up surrounded by technology.
Hmm.
It's not a separate tool for them, it's just how the world works.
That's true.
They get things like online marketing, customer relationship systems,
Yeah.
even building a brand on social media.
Uh,
All these things that might feel like a foreign language to someone who didn't grow up with it.
So it's not just about skills, it's like a whole different way of thinking.
Exactly. It's a mindset, a way of approaching problems and seeing opportunities that's almost second nature to them.
Okay, so Dr. Gray's argument is that this digital native mindset is crucial for navigating the future.
Yeah, he says that family businesses often have these deep roots, established ways of doing things.
Sure, decades of experience.
Right, but when the world is changing so fast, that can actually hold you back.
Interesting.
You need fresh perspectives, a willingness to experiment, even a little bit of that move fast and break things attitude.
Okay, I'm starting to see how it all connects.
Good.
But let's flip the script for a second.
Okay.
The stuff we read also talks about next-gen leaders feeling ignored, like their ideas aren't taken seriously.
Right.
Almost like they're seen as a threat.
Yeah, that's a common problem.
So if you're a next-gen leader stuck in that position, how do you even start to change things without causing a huge family rift?
That's the million-dollar question, and it's where Dr. Gray's argument for these peer groups gets really interesting.
Okay, tell me more.
He says the next generation has all this energy and these new ideas to move the business forward, but they're stuck in this waiting game, waiting for permission, waiting to be taken seriously.
Ugh, I can see how that would be frustrating.
And that frustration leads to resentment, and eventually they just check out.
That's bad news for everyone.
Exactly, for the family and for the business.
So these peer groups, they're more than just like a venting session, right?
Right, they're not just about complaining.
What's the actual structure? How do they help with this problem?
Well, from what we've gathered, they're pretty structured.
Okay.
They have experts leading them, and this is key, they're confidential.
Interesting.
It's like a think tank just for next-gen leaders in family businesses.
I like that.
They can share their struggles, brainstorm solutions, and learn from each other.
And because it's confidential, they can really open up.
Exactly. It's a safe space to be honest and vulnerable.
So it's like having a group of people who really get it, who are going through the same things.
Like-
But I gotta ask, is this just a fancy way of saying support group? Where does the actual leadership development come in?
That's where the experts come in.
Okay.
They have facilitators with different specialties.
Like what?
Well, they have someone who focuses on conflict resolution and communication.
Oh, that's huge in family businesses.
Right, and they have someone who specializes in ownership transitions.
Ooh, that's a tricky one.
And they even have someone who focuses on the emotional side of things, like wealth transition and family relationships.
Okay, so they're not just looking at business strategy.
Right, it's a holistic approach.
They're acknowledging that you can't separate the business from the family.
Exactly, and that's why the confidentiality is so important.
Makes sense.
These aren't just theoretical discussions.
Right.
Next-gen leaders can bring their real-life problems to the table, get feedback from their peers, and advice from experts who've seen it all.
It's like having a personal board of advisors dedicated to their success.
Exactly.
All right, this is all sounding pretty impressive. But let's be realistic for a minute.
Okay.
We're talking about family businesses here. Time is precious, resources are tight.
Right.
So what's the investment involved for someone thinking about these peer groups?
Well, they actually have different options to fit different needs and budgets.
Oh, okay. Tell me more.
Their hybrid program combines online meetings with 2 in-person events every year.
How much is that?
That one's about $12,000 a year for an individual.
Okay.
They also have a fully online program for half that price.
So there's some flexibility there.
Yeah, and they do custom packages for businesses that want to send a group of their next-gen leaders.
Okay, what about the time commitment?
Right, because everyone's busy.
Especially if you're already working in the family business.
The hybrid groups meet online 10 times a year, and the in-person events are 2-day things.
Okay.
Packed with sessions, workshops, and even a special event.
Cool.
For 2024, they're doing them in Nashville and Denver.
Sounds like a good mix of business and fun.
Yeah, they're definitely trying to make it valuable.
I can see how important those in-person connections are,
Definitely.
especially for a group that often feels isolated.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, but let's get down to brass tacks here.
Okay.
Who are these experts leading these groups?
All right, let's meet the team.
And what makes them so qualified to help next-gen leaders succeed?
Well, of course, there's Dr. Gray himself.
Right, he's the big name.
He's got tons of experience in leadership development and succession planning,
Decades of it.
but it's the rest of the team that I find really interesting.
Oh, okay, I'm all ears. Tell me about these experts. Okay, I'm all ears. Tell me about these experts.
Well, first up, you've got Richa Singh.
Okay.
She specializes in conflict resolution and communication.
Oh boy, that's got to be crucial in family businesses, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's like a minefield sometimes.
Yeah, you got those personal relationships all tangled up with business decisions.
Exactly, and that's where she really shines.
Yeah.
Helping families find ways to actually talk to each other, make decisions together, and keep those little disagreements from turning into huge blowouts.
No, I've seen that happen way too many times.
Yeah, it's not pretty.
It's like 1 minute you're talking about marketing strategy, and the next minute you're rehashing who got the bigger slice of pie at Thanksgiving 10 years ago.
Exactly, and it's not just about keeping everyone happy, it's about making sure that everyone feels heard.
Right.
That the next gen feels like they can actually contribute their ideas without, getting shut down.
Exactly.
And that's where Richa's background in mediation comes in.
Yeah.
She doesn't just try to smooth things over.
Right.
She teaches families how to work through those conflicts productively.
Turn those arguments into something positive.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's Richa. Who else is on this team?
Okay, next up we have Martha Sullivan,
Okay.
and she tackles a big one, ownership transitions.
Ooh, yeah, that's a whole other level of complexity.
It really is. I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
Passing the reins of a family business to the next generation, that's not just a business deal.
Right.
It's emotional. It's about legacy. It's about family dynamics.
It's about money, too, let's be real.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of money involved and sometimes a lot of ego, too.
Yeah, you're dealing with years and years of history.
Yeah.
Expectations, unspoken agreements.
Exactly. One wrong move and the whole thing could explode.
So how does Martha help with all that?
Well, she gets both the legal and the emotional side of things.
Okay.
She helps families create a plan for the transition.
Like a roadmap.
Exactly. They figure out the ownership structure, the tax implications, the communication strategies.
Wow, it's a lot to cover.
It is, but the goal is to make sure everyone is on the same page and that the transition sets the business up for success with the next generation at the helm.
Okay, 2 down, 1 to go.
Okay.
Who's the last member of this expert trio?
Okay, last but not least, we have Emily Bouchard.
All right, Emily Bouchard, what's her specialty?
Now, this one might surprise you. She focuses on the emotional side of wealth transition and family dynamics.
Wait, hold on. Emotions.
Yeah.
I thought we were talking about business here.
We are, but remember, this is about family businesses.
Right.
You can't separate the business from the family, the money from the relationships.
That's true.
And Emily gets that. She understands that wealth, especially inherited wealth, can be a powerful force.
Yeah, for better or for worse.
Exactly. It can bring families together or tear them apart.
Wow.
So she helps families deal with all the unspoken expectations, the anxieties, even the guilt that can come with having a lot of money.
That's fascinating. I never thought of it that way, but it makes so much sense.
It's a huge factor, and it often gets overlooked.
You're talking about legacy, future generations.
Yeah.
The weight of all that responsibility.
Exactly. And for someone who's still trying to find their place in the business world, that can be a lot to handle.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So Emily helps them process all those emotions.
Exactly. She creates a safe space for them to talk things out, understand each other, and ultimately build stronger relationships.
So it's not just about making smart business decisions. It's about creating a healthy family dynamic.
Exactly. It all starts with the family.
Okay, I'm really impressed with this team. They seem like they thought of everything.
They really have. It's a great approach.
So let's go back to Dr. Gray for a minute.
Okay.
You mentioned he thinks 2025 is a turning point for family businesses.
Yeah, he sees it as a make or break year.
Why is that? What makes this year so important?
Well, what's interesting is that he doesn't just talk about the need for next-gen leadership. He actually offers some concrete advice,
Oh, okay. I like that.
even for families who aren't ready for something like a peer group.
So what's this actionable advice? What can our listeners take away and use today? So what's this actionable advice? What can our listeners take away and use today?
He talks about three main things:
Okay.
open conversations, meaningful projects, and those peer connections.
Okay, so he doesn't just throw out these fancy terms?
No, he actually gets specific.
I like that. So let's start with those open conversations.
Okay.
What does that even look like in a family business?
Well, he says that senior leaders need to actually talk to their next gen, and not just about, daily tasks or whatever,
Right.
but about the big picture, the vision for the future.
Oh, interesting.
He even suggests some questions to get the ball rolling.
Oh, like what?
Things like, what trends are you seeing that we might be missing? Or if you could try any new idea, what would it be?
I see. So you're shifting the dynamic
Exactly.
from I'm the boss, I'm telling you what to do,
Yeah.
to, hey, I'm curious what you think,
Exactly. You're showing them that you value their perspective,
even if it's different from yours.
especially if it's different.
Okay, but what about those families where the next gen is still pretty green?
Yeah.
They're still learning the ropes.
Right.
Maybe they haven't earned the right to be shaping the company vision yet.
Well, Dr. Gray would probably say that that kind of thinking is a self-fulfilling prophecy.
How so?
If you don't give them the chance to think big picture, to practice their leadership skills,
Yeah.
they'll never develop them.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And that's where his second piece of advice comes in, right?
Exactly. Meaningful projects.
Okay, so what makes a project meaningful in this context?
It's not about giving them busy work or, menial tasks.
Right.
It's about giving them ownership of projects that actually matter.
Okay.
Projects where they can use their skills and their ideas and learn by doing,
Even if they mess up somehow.
even if they mess up. That's part of the process.
So you're creating a safe space for them to experiment, to take risks.
Exactly, because that's how they'll learn and grow.
But that requires a lot of trust from the senior leaders, right?
Absolutely.
Letting go of that control, believing that the next gen can handle it.
It's a big step for a lot of families.
And Dr. Gray acknowledges that.
He does. He says to start small, give them more responsibility as they prove themselves.
It's like teaching someone to drive a Ring. You don't just throw them the keys to a Ferrari
Exactly. You start with a little car in an empty parking lot,
and then maybe graduate to a minivan.
and then eventually maybe the Ferrari.
Okay, I like that analogy. And that brings us to Dr. Gray's third point, those peer connections.
Right. He's a big believer in learning from other people who are going through the same things.
We talked about his peer groups, but are there other ways to do that?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Like what? Well, they can go to industry events together, join online forums, even just have regular dinners or meetups with other next-gen leaders.
I see. So just creating opportunities for them to connect.
Exactly. To share their struggles, brainstorm solutions, and realize that they're not alone in this.
So it's about opening up communication within the family, giving them hands-on experience, and then expanding their network outside the family business.
Exactly.
It's not just about preparing them to take over. It's about building the future together.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And Dr. Gray ties all of this back to that statistic we talked about earlier.
The one about how many family businesses fail to transition to the next generation.
Exactly. He says that neglecting next-gen leadership development is a big reason why so many of those businesses don't make it.
Because if the next generation doesn't feel valued or prepared,
Right.
why would they stay? They'll go somewhere where they feel appreciated, where they can make a difference.
And that's a loss for everyone.
It is. And it's not just about the business either.
Okay.
Dr. Gray says that investing in the next gen has a ripple effect on the whole family.
How so?
When they feel heard and respected and empowered,
Yeah.
it strengthens those family bonds. It builds trust. It creates a more resilient family unit.
So it's a win-win, a stronger business and a stronger family.
Exactly. You can't have one without the other.
Wow. Dr. Gray has really given us a lot to think about today.
He has.
I'm curious, if you were a next-gen leader listening to this, what would be your biggest takeaway?
That's a good question. I think I would want my family to know that we're ready.
Ready to lead.
Yeah, we have the energy, the ideas, the passion to take this business into the future.
But they need to give you a chance.
Exactly. Give us a seat at the table, trust our instincts, and let us show you what we can do.
That's powerful. And for those senior leaders out there, the ones holding the reins, what would you tell them?
I would say this. The future of your family business isn't about passing a torch. It's about igniting a new flame.
Ooh, I like that.
Embrace the strengths of your next gen, create a space for open communication, and watch them transform your business in ways you never imagined.
That's a beautiful image, igniting a new flame. And on that inspiring note, I think we'll wrap up this deep dive.
Sounds good.
We've covered a lot of ground today, from the urgency of next-gen leadership to the very specific ways to make it happen.
We have.
We talked about the power of peer groups, the importance of open communication, and the impact this can have on both the business and the family.
It's been a really insightful conversation.
It has, and I hope our listeners are leaving today with a sense of urgency, a toolbox of strategies, and most importantly, the confidence to face the future together.
Me too. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive. Until next time.